There it stood, suspended in the canvas of space like a gaping wound in the cosmos, silent, black, and utterly unrelenting. A black hole, the most feared entity in the known universe. A point where time collapses, matter surrenders, and reality itself folds in on itself. To most, it was a death sentence. To you, it was an invitation. Your ship drifted silently at the edge of its dominion, instruments flashing nervously as space warped and twisted around it. The stars near the event horizon stretched and spiraled, creating a gravitational mirage that painted circles of starlight across a curtain of darkness. Behind you, the universe hummed with the familiar comforts of known physics. Ahead, the rules began to blur. This was no ordinary black hole. It was charged, electrically alive and rare, and, if the mad theories were correct, it could be the key to the impossible. A passage. A one-way tunnel through space-time. A wormhole. You exhaled one final time, sealed in your radiation-hardened, AI-guided exosuit, more advanced than anything humans had dared to test in such hostile conditions. Then, silence. Engines idle. The pull began. At first, it was gentle, deceptive in its grace. But with each millisecond, the invisible grip of gravity tightened. Your ship began its death spiral, dragged ever faster toward the event horizon, that fatal line beyond which nothing returns. Your AI, our I.CO, kept you informed in its usual sterile tone. Approaching outer horizon. Estimated spaghettification in 8.4 seconds. The term alone was horrifying. Your body, it explained, would begin to stretch grotesquely as your feet experienced far more gravity than your head. Bones would elongate, organs would rupture. A slow unraveling of the human form. But today was different. Just before the forces could tear you apart, the wormhole revealed itself, a shimmering instability buried within the black hole's core. You plunged into it. The ship trembled violently, lights flickering as space-time twisted around you like a hurricane of pure math. The laws of physics convulsed. Dimensions folded. Suddenly, silence. Not peace, but the eerie stillness of the unknown. You were inside, caught between two event horizons, between two realities. The wormhole's throat cradled you like a cosmic esophagus, lined not with flesh, but with light itself. Through your visor, the black void began to distort, and the singularity, once infinitely small, now presented visions, a cascade of brilliance. You were seeing time. A kaleidoscope of cosmic history erupted in your mind. The birth of stars, the deaths of galaxies, civilizations rising and falling in a blink. The black hole had become a mirror to the past, and you were watching eons stream past your eyes. Then came the inner event horizon. As your craft passed through, something shifted. The light bent again, but this time, it wasn't the past. It was the future. You watched suns yet to ignite, empires yet to be born, planets swirling with life that hadn't even evolved. The wormhole was now expelling you, not into another place in your universe, but into another universe entirely. You were about to emerge from the other side, the white hole. Where the black hole devours, the white hole rejects. Where one takes, the other only gives. It exploded outward like a cosmic scream. Blinding light filled your vision. Then, silence. You were drifting. Free. A new starfield glittered above you, unfamiliar, hauntingly beautiful. A strange blue sun cast light on your ship, now battle-scarred but intact. You had made it. You were the first human in an alien universe. What would you find here? Would time still tick the same way? Would gravity still hold sway over matter? Would your atoms even hold together in this dimension where physics might write a different script? Perhaps this universe was built of antimatter, where even a breath might spark annihilation. Or maybe it was the home of dark matter, the stuff that had always eluded your own kind. Whatever it was, one truth stood clear. There was no going back. White holes are 1A gates. What entered the black hole's throat and survived its trials could never return. The bridge collapsed behind you. Earth, the Milky Way, your home, all were now memories trapped behind the veil of that singularity. But here was rebirth. A cosmos untouched, untamed, unwritten. Your sensors detected bizarre radiation, quantum echoes, and distant structures that defied geometry. Somewhere in this universe, perhaps another version of you thrived. Or perhaps something else entirely, something more advanced, more aware, watched you arrive. And if you survived, what stories would you tell? You smiled, unsure whether you were trembling from awe or terror. Then you spoke softly, "Our I.CO, let's record this. For history, or whatever watches from the dark." The black hole had given you not an end, but a beginning. What you saw beyond the veil could change everything, or erase you from existence entirely. But hey, you just rode a black hole. How much crazier could it get? The stars here were wrong. Not just different, wrong. They shimmered with colors no human eye had ever witnessed. Not just red, blue, or white, but hues that felt emotional. The constellations danced in arrangements that defied your understanding of distance and geometry. Some stars pulsed like breathing lungs. Others spiraled in fractal rhythms, vanishing and reappearing as if skipping frames in the movie of reality. You floated in silence, your suit slowly adjusting to the unknown quantum field. Our I.CO spoke at last. Environmental constants, inconsistent. Gravitational baseline, shifting. Atmospheric composition, undetectable. Recommend, extreme caution. Caution? That ship had sailed when you dove headfirst into a black hole. Still, you scanned the surrounding void. In this universe, light bent differently. Time flowed with a peculiar elasticity. Your ship's internal chronometer began to lag, then speed up. You weren't sure if hours were passing or centuries. But then something moved. At first, it was a shimmer, a ripple, like the heat haze above asphalt on a summer road. Then it twisted, warped, coalesced. A structure. It wasn't made of metal or stone, but of light woven into form, like a cathedral of photons floating in the void. It rotated gently, casting long shadows that shouldn't have existed in the vacuum of space. And at its core, a sphere. Not unlike the black hole you had just traversed, but white-hot, humming, alive. A white hole, but this one was controlled. Our I.CO broke the silence. Artificial construct. Design suggests intelligence. Source of localized spatial stabilization. Advise. Approach with care. You engaged slow thrust, guiding the ship toward the impossible architecture. As you neared, symbols emerged across your viewport. Not written, encoded. They danced like logic puzzles written in light, asking you to prove your place in the cosmos. One by one, you answered not with knowledge, but with intention. A thought, a feeling, recognition. The structure responded. It opened. Inside, the space was vast, larger than it should have been. Your ship passed through walls of light and landed gently on a surface made of nothing, yet solid beneath your feet. You stepped out, and you weren't alone. They stood in silence, not creatures, but projections, echoes, beings of energy shaped by thought, eyes of starlight, bodies that flickered between presence and absence. You crossed the threshold, one of them said, though its voice bypassed your ears and echoed straight into your mind. Few have done so. Fewer still have survived. Fewer yet were, meant to. You tried to respond, but they already knew. They showed you visions of civilizations beyond time, of wars between matter and antimatter, of gods that were not gods, but ideas turned sentient, of universes born, lived, and folded back into themselves like origami in the hands of giants. And they asked you a question, not with words, but with weight. Would you return to your universe if you could? Or would you stay and learn? You hesitated. Back home, Earth was bound by limits. Gravity, mortality, division. Here, you sensed a unity, a purpose. The pain of spaghettification, the terror of being crushed beneath cosmic weight, all of it had led here, to this moment. But the answer wasn't yours alone. The white hole pulsed again. RI.co's voice buzzed. Singularity resonance detected. A pathway remains. Return window, 72 seconds. Decision required. The light beings waited, not judging, simply watching. You looked out into the alien stars, into the future, into the unknown. One path led back to your body, your world, your past. The other? Into evolution, into cosmic truth, into becoming. You took a breath, and you chose. You chose to return, not because you feared the unknown, but because you still had something left behind. Memories, people, a planet clinging to the edge of crisis. You had seen the end of time, brushed fingertips with cosmic gods, and tasted the fabric of eternity, but you were still human, and humanity needed stories. The light beings didn't speak again. They simply understood. As you turned your gaze toward the opening white hole, the space around you began to bend, to remember you. Your presence, your atoms, your timeline. Everything about you was gently stitched back together, like a soul being rewound. RI.co's voice, now calmer, more grounded. White hole reactivation in progress. Transit in 3, 2, 1. There was no flash, no dramatic sound, just a feeling, falling upward, like being pulled through the eye of a storm made of time. The light around you dimmed, then darkened. Then everything stopped. When your vision returned, the stars were familiar again. Your ship was drifting in low orbit above Earth. Blue, spinning, fragile, but it wasn't quite the same planet you remembered. RI.co updated your logs. Anomaly detected. Relative time shift, plus 42 years. You blinked. 42 years? You hadn't aged, but Earth had. The continents looked the same, but the lights were different. Denser in some regions, gone in others. You angled the ship for re-entry. You didn't know what you'd find, but you had to see. The descent was rougher than expected. Your ship, no longer calibrated for the atmosphere's new composition, bucked against the winds. But you made it. You stepped out into a world both ancient and new. Towering solar spires hummed silently in the distance. Drones buzzed overhead like mechanical birds. And people, real people, gathered slowly around you, drawn by the ship, by the stranger who stepped out wearing a suit laced with stardust. They asked your name. You told them everything. At first, they didn't believe you. But then you showed them what you brought back. From a small compartment in your suit, you removed a crystal, forged from the interior of a singularity, humming with energy. A gift from the light beings. A message encoded in quantum form. It wasn't just a story. It was a seed. Of knowledge. Of unity. Of warning. Within days, scientists were poring over it. Within weeks, everything changed. Diseases were cured. Energy was reimagined. Space travel leapt decades ahead. And beneath it all, your name spread. You weren't just a traveler. You were the one who returned from the other side. Late one night, as you stood by the ocean that once seemed infinite, RI.co broke the silence. Residual signal detected. Origin, unknown. Frequency match, 0.00001% variance. Identity, possible alternate self. You froze. Another you? A reflection from another universe? A version who stayed? You stared up at the sky, at the familiar constellation that no longer looked so distant. Out there, beyond the black, behind the light, was another story waiting. And you weren't done yet, because once you've fallen through a black hole, you never stop wondering what's on the other side of the next.